Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Purva Agrawal. So welcome to today's knowledge session. So the topic for today's session is API optimization in Scala. Yeah. So before starting the session, we need to follow some of the basic nationalics etiquettes. Lack of etiquettes and manners is a huge turnoff. First is punctuality. Join the session 5 minutes prior to the session start time. We start on time and conclude on time. Feedback. Make sure to submit a constructive feedback for all the sessions as it is very helpful for the presenter. Keep your mobile devices on silent mode. Feel free to move out of the session in case you need to attend an urgent call, and avoid unwanted chit chat during the session. So, the agenda for today's session is first is the introduction, then the challenges in API performance, Scala's strength for optimization, best practices in API optimization, concurrency and parallelism. Then we will be discussing about monitoring and debugging, code optimization techniques, and finally a small case study or a demo we can say. So first is what is API optimization and its importance. Basically, a simple introduction about that. So what is an API? We all know. Let's take a quick introduction. But so APIs, or the application programming interface, they are the backbone of software communication. They define the rules and protocols that allow different software applications to interact seamlessly. We can think of an API as a bridge, like it connects different systems and allows them to exchange data efficiently. An API is a set of rules and protocols that allow different software applications to communicate. We can think of it as a waiter in a restaurant. So when we order food, the waiter takes a request to the kitchen and brings back what we have ordered. Similarly, an API takes a request from a client, sends it to the server, and returns the response. So what is the purpose of APIs? So there are several key functions of an API. First is connecting clients and servers. So when we use a mobile app to check the weather, it sends a request to the weather API, which fetches the relevant data and sends it back. Second is simplifying the data exchange. APIs abstract complex operations. They allow the developers to access the functionality without understanding its internal workings. So instead of manually integrating different services, APIs allow seamless communication. Third is the API enabling third party integrations. Businesses use APIs to connect with external services such as social media platforms or the payment gateways. They also improve the modularity and also enhance the reusability. So some of the examples of the APIs which we are using in everyday life. First is the social media APIs. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. These provide the APIs for developers to integrate the services into the third-party apps. Payment gateways, like which we use regularly, Stripe and PayPal, they allow the businesses to process transactions securely. Weather services like the Open Weather API provides real-time weather data for applications. We have different types of APIs. First, mostly used is the RESTful APIs, the most widely used, leveraging standard HTTP methods like GET, POST, PUT, and DELETE. Second is the GraphQL. This is a more flexible alternative to REST APIs. They're allowing the clients to basically specify exactly what data you need. Third is the WebSocket APIs. These are used for the real-time communication, such as live chat applications. So APIs are everywhere, and optimizing their performance is very crucial for building fast, scalable, and reliable applications in our life. So now we understand the APIs. Let's move forward and see what is API optimization and why it's important, and what are the key goals that we need to achieve with optimization. So API optimization basically refers to improving the API's performance, scalability, and reliability so that it runs efficiently and handles increasing demands without breaking down. It is a process of improving the performance, scalability, and reliability to ensure seamless communication between the services. Because a poorly optimized API can lead to very slow responses, system failures, and frustrated users as well. So why is API optimization important? Because it reduces the response times and latency. A slow API can frustrate the users and it can cause poor application performance. Nobody likes slow applications. Optimized APIs ensure data is fetched quickly. Second is it handles high traffic loads efficiently. So the optimized APIs can scale to support thousands or millions of requests per second. As user bases grow, APIs must be capable of handling thousands or even millions of requests per second. Thirdly, it enhances the user experience. So the fast and reliable APIs improve the responsiveness, leading to a smoother customer experience. Faster APIs means more responsive applications, leading to higher user satisfaction, which is very important these days. Next is optimizes the resource usage, because efficient APIs use less CPU, memory, and bandwidth, reducing the infrastructure cost as well, which is also important. So the key goals of API optimization are: it minimizes the response time, it ensures the requests are processed as quickly as possible, it maximizes the throughput, it increases the number of requests an API can handle simultaneously. Third is enhance the scalability and fault tolerance. API should remain operational under heavy load and recover quickly from failures. Fourth is the optimized resource usage, efficiently manage CPU, memory, and network bandwidth to reduce the operational cost. So, without optimization, APIs become a bottleneck, leading to a poor performance and lost revenue. So, why API optimization? So, to meet the demands of modern applications, so the API optimization is no longer optional, it's a necessity. Without proper optimization, APIs become bottlenecks, leading to slow performance. So, Scala, with its functional programming capabilities, strong typing, and JVM performance, provide the ideal foundation for building APIs that are fast, scalable, and robust. So, by leveraging the Scala's rich ecosystems of tools and frameworks, so developers can overcome performance challenges, handle massive traffic loads, and build APIs that are resilient in the face of failures. So, API optimization isn't just about the speed, it's about creating systems that can scale efficiently, adapt to the demand, and ensure seamless user experiences. So, why Scala? So, Scala has some features that are really useful for the API optimization. First, it combines the functional and object oriented programming. So, functional programming makes the code more predictable and easier to parallelize. Object oriented principles help in organizing the complex applications. Secondly, it has strong typing and JVM based operations. So, Scala type system help catch errors at compile time, reducing the runtime failures. Running on the JVM means it benefits from Java's decades of performance improvements, and it has a rich ecosystem for API development. Like libraries that are present are like Akka, Play Framework, Monix. They make it easier to build high performance and reactive APIs. So, what are the challenges in the API performance? So APIs are the backbone of modern software development. They power almost everything we interact with: mobile apps, cloud services, and even IoT devices. But as technology advances, the demands of APIs increasing significantly. Organizations need to make the APIs that are fast, scalable, and reliable to ensure a seamless experience for the users. However, achieving high performance at scale isn't easy. There are numerous challenges that come with scaling the APIs in today's architectures. So first is the latency. So latency basically refers to the delay between sending a request and receiving a response. Several factors that contribute to the high latency include network delays, inefficient queries, and processing the bottlenecks. Network delays due to long data transmission times. The time it takes for a request to travel between the client and the server is the network delay. Inefficient queries basically slow down the database responses. Poorly optimized queries can slow down API responses. Processing the bottlenecks that occur when an API takes too long to compute a result. If API handles complex computations inefficiently, performance suffers. Second is inefficient data handling. So many APIs fetch more data than necessary, which increases the load times and wastes the resources. So the two problems in REST APIs is overfetching and underfetching. Overfetching basically retrieving more data than needed, like fetching an entire user profile when only the name is required. That is overfetching. And underfetching is basically fetching little data but more is required. So that is underfetching. Thirdly, concurrency issues. So handling simultaneous requests efficiently is challenging, obviously. So handling multiple requests at the same time can cause race condition or deadlocks, leading to poor performance. So poor concurrency management can cause slower response times, higher memory and CPU usage, deadlocks, and race conditions. Modern applications run on distributed cloud architectures, meaning APIs must handle multiple concurrent requests efficiently. So poorly designed APIs struggle with race conditions. Race condition is basically when multiple requests try to update the same data. And deadlock is basically when requests wait indefinitely for resources to become available, which causes the deadlock. Fourth is scalability. So APIs need to handle growing traffic over time. So as APIs grow, they must handle increasing loads without degrading the performance. So issue basically arises when databases become a bottleneck, load balancing is not properly implemented, and server resources are not optimized for increasing the demand. Lastly is fault tolerance. So APIs must stay operational even during the failures. APIs need mechanisms to handle failures gracefully without affecting the entire system. So the common problems include unreliable dependencies. If an external service goes down, the API might also fail. And secondly is the lack of retry mechanisms. Some APIs fail instead of retrying when an error occurs. So addressing these challenges is key to building high performance APIs. So how can we address these issues? So this is where Scala comes in. So why Scala for API optimization? When discussing the API optimization, choosing the right programming language and framework is very important. So Scala stands out as a powerful choice for high performance APIs. Scala is particularly well suited for addressing these API challenges, which you have seen in the previous slides, due to its powerful features. So let's discuss the main features of Scala, which are important for API optimization. First is functional programming for predictability and enhances the performance. So first is Scala's immutability ensures data integrity, reducing the race condition in concurrent operation. So basically immutability is the data is not modified, so this prevents the race condition. Secondly, pure functions help in writing the predictable and maintainable code. Second, powerful libraries. So Scala offers robust libraries that aid in API optimization. First is Akka. It enables reactive, event-driven applications with efficient concurrency handling. Akka is basically a library for building high concurrent, event-driven applications. Second is Cats and Monix, provides functional constructs for safe and efficient data manipulation, functional programming libraries that help with asynchronous and parallel processing. Third is Strong Type System. So it prevents common errors by enforcing type safety at compile time, reducing the runtime crashes. Scala's type safety helps catch errors at compile time, reducing the production bugs. Fourth and last is the JVM performance and ecosystem. So Scala benefits from Java's JVM optimizations, enabling efficient garbage collection, just-in-time compilation, and robust multi-threading system. Scala benefits from Java's JIT, just-in-time compiler, which improves the execution speed. Access to Java's vast ecosystem, including the performance monitoring and optimization tools. So Scala's combination of functional programming, concurrency support, and JVM performance makes it a superior choice for optimizing the APIs. So because of these strengths, Scala is widely used in data-intensive and high-throughput applications, making it an excellent choice for API optimization. Next, we have the best practices in API optimization. Just give me a moment, I'll have water. Sorry. So yeah. So now that we understand the challenges and why Scala is a great choice, let's look into some best practices for optimizing the APIs. First is efficient JSON handling. So most APIs work with JSON data. However, inefficient serialization can slow down the performance. Circuit and Jackson are two powerful libraries for JSON serialization and deserialization in Scala. So Circuit provides functional and lightweight JSON processing, while Jackson is widely used and optimized for speed. Choosing the right library and tuning it can significantly reduce the API response times. Second is non-blocking input-output. When handling many concurrent requests, blocking operations slow everything down. Akka HTTP enables non-blocking input-output, allowing the APIs to handle thousands of connections simultaneously. Instead of waiting for a response, non-blocking operations continue processing other requests, making the APIs more responsive and scalable. Third is lazy evaluation. So in Scala, we can delay the computations until the result is actually required. This reduces the unnecessary calculations, optimizing the CPU as well as the memory usage. So basic example is instead of eagerly computing all the values in a collection, We can use lazy eval collections or streams to process only what is necessary. And last is the caching. So fetching the data repeatedly from database or external APIs adds latency and delays the response time of the APIs. So we can use the caffeine and the Redis to help restore frequently accessing data, reducing the redundant computations. So implementing the caching strategies like time to live, TTL, and cache invalidation, it ensures data stays fresh while improving the API performance. So by following these practices, we can significantly enhance the API speed, efficiently, and scalability as well. So next we have concurrency and parallelism. So we are talking about concurrency and parallelism in API optimization because that plays a very crucial role in improving the performance, respo- responsiveness, and scalability of the APIs. So let's understand the basic difference between both. So can anyone like tell me the difference between both? Uh, Okay, I guess that's a no. So let me take it. So basically, concurrent programming is it focuses on managing the multiple tasks that run independently but not necessarily at the same time. So handling multiple requests at the same time without executing them simultaneously. This is useful for input-output bound operations such as the database queries or the network calls. So tasks overlap in execution and may share the resources. In parallel programming, it aims to speed up execution by running multiple computations simultaneously, executing multiple tasks simultaneously using multiple CPU cores. This is beneficial for CPU bound tasks like sorry, data processing or encryption. So it requires multiple cores or processors to execute the task at the same time. For example, processing the large data sets using multiple CPU cores in parallel. So unlike concurrency, parallel programming is deterministic. Tasks are designed to run simultaneously and parallelly. So the key difference is concurrency is basically about structure, handling the many tasks. Parallelism is about execution, running tasks at the same time. So API should use both to balance the responsiveness and performance. So why this matters for the API performance? Firstly, it is because of the faster response times. By handling multiple API requests concurrently, we reduce the waiting time for the users. Efficient resource utilization. APIs that handle requests concurrently avoid blocking operations, leading to better CPU and memory utilization. Third is scalability. APIs optimized for parallel execution can handle more users without slowing down. So how can we apply this in our API? First is by using the asynchronous database calls. Second is query caching, and third is Akka HTTP non-blocking model. So the basic conclusion is concurrency is a property of the program, and parallel execution is the property of the machine. To achieve parallel execution, we need hardware to support it. So achieving the high concurrency APIs. To build highly concurrent APIs, we need the right tools and techniques. First is futures and promises that we have used. Futures are basically they represent asynchronous computations that will complete in the future. It is a read-only placeholder for the result of ongoing computation. It acts as a proxy for an actual value that doesn't yet exist but may exist in the future. Promises allow manual control over when a future completes. The promise is a writable single assignment container that completes a future. It is similar to a future, however, the future is about the read side of an asynchronous operation, while the promise is about the write side. So, basic example is making an API request that fetches the data asynchronously while the system continues processing the other tasks so that we do not have to wait. Second is Akka actors. So Akka provides a message-driven concurrency model using the actors. So each actor processes the messages independently, making the APIs more fault tolerant and efficient. For example, a chat application where each user is independent actor handling messages asynchronously. Third is Monix for reactive streams. So Monix helps manage large streams of data efficiently. It is a high-performance color library built for composing asynchronous and event-driven programming. It enables back pressure handling, preventing the APIs from being overwhelmed with requests. So what is back pressure? It is a basically a mechanism that allows the system to control the flow of data between the components. So, but what are the benefits of achieving the high concurrency APIs? First is higher throughput. APIs handle more requests in less time, lower latency, which increases the response time and the user experience, and better scalability. The system can grow without performance degradation. So, using these tools, we can build APIs that scale efficiently under heavy traffic. Third is monitoring and debugging. So even with optimized APIs, we need proper monitoring and debugging to ensure performance remains high. First, we can use this Prometheus for metrics collection. It collects real-time performance metrics like latency, error rates, and request throughput. It helps detect issues before they affect the users. Second is Grafana for dashboards. It visualizes the API performance data using interactive dashboards. For example, monitoring an API latency spikes in real time. Third is Zipkin for distributed tracing. It tracks the API request flows across multiple services. It helps identify the bottlenecks in microservice architectures. For example, if an API response is slow, it shows which part of the request took the most time. And fourthly, which is commonly used, is structured logging with SLF4J and Logback. Logs provide detailed insight into the API behavior. It helps categorize and filter the logs for easy debugging. So the key takeaway here is like monitoring, it helps detect the issues proactively, and debugging tool helps to fix the problems quickly. So by integrating these tools, we ensure that the APIs remain reliable and high performing. Next is the code optimization techniques. So let's look into the techniques to optimize the Scala code for API performance. First is avoid overusing implicit conversions. So implicit conversions can make code hard to debug and slow down the compilation. So instead, prefer explicit type definitions to improve performance and maintainability. Second is optimize the database interactions with Slick. So Slick is a Scala-based database query library that optimizes the SQL execution. Using connection pooling and indexing to reduce the query execution time. Third is choose efficient collections. Selecting the right data structure reduces the memory usage and speeds up operations. So we should use lists for sequential operations and vectors for random access. And also avoid mutable collections unless necessary. Fourth is minimize the reflection and use type safe constructs. So reflection based operations, example runtime type checking, they are slow. So we should prefer compile time type safety to catch the errors and improve the performance. So by following these optimization techniques, we write cleaner, faster, and more efficient Scala code for the APIs. So lastly, we have a small demo, so let's see that. Let me just share my screen. Yeah. So this is basically a RESTful API for managing the books built using Akka HTTP. It supports the basic CURD operations, create, read, update, and delete, and is optimized for high performance using caching, database indexing, and monitoring tools. So initially the API faced high latency and struggled to handle the concurrent requests. By adopting the Akka HTTP for non-blocking input-output, caching frequent memory queries, and optimizing the database queries with Slick, the latency had been reduced by 70%. This allowed to proactively address the bottlenecks, improving the reliability. These techniques transform the API into a high performance system capable of handling thousands of requests per second. So the tech stack that we have used here is Akka HTTP for non-blocking API, Slick for database operations, S2 database for in-memory for testing, query caching for faster lookups, and lazy logging to optimize the log output. So let's walk through the code first. So this is the application.conf file that we have created, and these are all the dependencies that we have used in the build.sbt file, and they're already added here. So next we have the book.scala file here. So let's look into each of them one by one. So firstly, we have created a case class book here, defined how books are stored in the database, and we have used the spray JSON to convert the book object to JSON. As we can see here, this is the case class book here, and we have used the spray JSON format for the book class. Here we have created the database table definition. This is the book table named as books. It has three fields here: ID, title, author. Then we have this is the database setup that we have done here. Then here we have used caching also for API optimization. Just give me a second. Yeah. So here we have added the SLF Forger logger, and here we have created various routes. We'll run each route and then we'll see the performance of the APIs. Firstly, we have the get route here, which takes an ID and returns the details of that particular book. Secondly, we have the get route, which where we have used the pagination to get the number of books we have in our database. Thirdly, we have the post route here to insert the new records, and then we have the put route here. Also, we have the delete route to delete the books. So let's see each one of them. What all API optimization techniques we have used. Firstly, we have used Akka HTTP for non-blocking input-output. So Akka HTTP is basically a asynchronous event-driven HTTP framework. It uses the actors for concurrency. We have used it because it handles many requests concurrently. It doesn't block the threads while waiting for database responses. This gives the result as higher throughput, reduces server resource usage, and faster response times. So we can see we have implemented the actor system here. Just give me a second. Yeah. So we can see here we have used the actor system here. For secondly, we have used the caching for faster queries. So we have used caching because it avoids repeated database queries for frequent access books. It stores recently fetched books in the memory. So first it checks the cache when we hit use like hit on any API. So it first checks the cache before querying the database. If found, it returns the result immediately, and if not found, then it checks the DB and stores the result in the cache for future use. So we have used cache here. We can see. So it basically provides fast API responses. It reduces the database load, and it is ideal for frequently accessed data. Thirdly, we have used database query optimization with Slick. So Slick is basically a functional relational mapping for Scala. It improves the efficiency of the database queries. So optimizations we have used indexed searches for quick lookups, pagination to limit the result size, which we'll see when we'll run the API, and batch inserts to reduce the database overhead. We can see here. Um, yeah, we have used index for faster search here. So it basically queries, executes faster, reduces the database stress, and handles large data sets efficiently. Fourthly, we have used lazy logging for efficient debugging. So logs come only when necessary. It prevents performance loss from excessive logging. So it is important because it helps track API activity. It is useful for debugging the errors, and it can slow down API if overused. So we can see here. We have used val logger logging system get class, and then we have added the loggers like dot debug, logger dot error. So this is the logging that we have used. So it reduces the log file size, faster API response times, and more efficient debugging. So let's run the APIs. Just yeah, let me just run this. Let's. These are the various routes that we have created. So let's check the route get by ID, where I've added the ID as one. So So yeah, this is the post out where I have inserted a new book here with ID 5, title as Scala Guide 5, and author as John Doe 5. So the request has been inserted and it took 204 milliseconds, and we can see the response time in milliseconds is 41. And if I click on get list, so we have inserted one record here, so you can see it here. Let's insert multiple records. So I have inserted 4 records and we'll see the pagination here. So here we have given the limit as 3 and offset as 0. So we'll see like we have a total of 4 records, but we'll be getting 3 of the records. And if I increase the limit here, so we have the 4 records. So this is basically an optimization where we have used pagination to increase the API performance. And we have the delete route as well here. So the response time is 25 milliseconds. So basically the final impact is the faster API response times, more efficient resource utilization, and scalable and production ready APIs. So this was all from my side. Thank you everyone. Bharti, over to you.
Thanks, Purva. Guys, do we have any questions? Anybody, any questions? Please don't forget that Purva will also be nominating two of you as the Spotlight Nashers. So you can use this opportunity. If nobody has any questions, then maybe Purva can ask some questions to you all and let's see who can answer them. Purva, would you want to ask 1 or 2 questions to the people?
Yeah, sure, maybe.
Anything around the topic. Neetu, you want to say something?
So I have
Yes,
a question.
Purva, please.
Yeah, so like the question that I asked previously, the difference between concurrency and parallelism, like a short difference, maybe anyone?
Anyone can quickly share the answer, maybe in 2 or 3 lines. Anybody? In that case, we might ask people. Yes, Akhil, please.
Yeah, sure.
Like in concurrency means that handling multiple tasks at the same time, and in parallelism, like executing multiple tasks simultaneously through parallel execution.
Okay.
So, Purva, was this answer correct?
Yeah, like it's correct. So basically, concurrency focuses on managing the multiple tasks that run independently, but it is not necessary that they run at the same time. So handling multiple requests at the same time without necessarily executing them is basically concurrency, and parallelism is basically what he said. It basically like tasks are designed to run simultaneously, parallelly. So we need hardware for that. Yeah, that's correct.
Awesome. Great. So thanks, Akhil. Thanks. Anybody else? Anybody would want to answer or question anything? All right, then in that case, we'll take it as a no, and we are good to close the session now. So thanks, Purva, for the wonderful session. Thanks, Akhil, for your participation. Thanks, everyone, for joining in.
Thank you.
Thank you.